Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Cynical and welcome back to another video. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I guess it's because, Lauriam was doing a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and this and that in the most recent Kingdom Hearts Union Cross story update. Today, we're going to be talking about it. I'm sorry that it's taken me a little while to get to this point, mainly because I took last week off and the story update dropped while I was taking just a small little breather break thing. But anyway, we're finally getting around to actually talking about the big next story updates in today's video. Man, what a story update, dude. Honestly, over the past few months, the Union Cross story has been progressing very nicely, with major events happening and Square keeping up with this consistency thing. Although I would like to see like major story updates happening every week, second week sort of thing. It's nice to know that we're now in times where we're not having to wait months on end to get something substantial. It's happening at a pretty consistent rate, which is good. So it seems like Square are holding to this consistency thing ever since they did announce that Union Cross is now sort of in its final chapter of sorts. But anyway, so in this story update, good Lord Almighty, holy goose nipples, shit is going down. In the last major story update previous to this one, it was revealed to us that Ventus was in fact Strelaisa's killer, or more so, the darkness that is hiding within inside of Ventus. Possessing Ventus to do its bidding for it, although it more so seems like in that actual scene itself, it was actually quite literally darkness that ended up taking Strelaisa's life. The darkness then stepping out of Ventus's body, walking beside Ventus, walking out of the house, stepping into the light, revealed to us Ava, or at least some sort of form of Ava, whether it is actually Ava, or the darkness just taking on the form of Ava, which we sort of believe to be, as it's already been sort of explained by the Master of Masters, that darkness can take on the form of people. There's a lot of things up in the air as of right now. However, the Dandelions have been discussing everything to do with Ventus, obviously ever since finding out about the fact that Ventus's name wasn't on the original intended Dandelion leader group list. Brain, Scold, and Ephemer are having a discussion about darkness, talking about how it's more prominent than ever, with assuming that the darkness may have already killed off Strelaisa. Now, little did they know, Lauriam was overhearing this conversation, busts on in, and this is where everything goes from 0 to 126 within the snap of a finger. The man literally grabs Brain, demanding some answers, with Brain following up saying that his suspicions about the darkness has been proven true. The sense that the darkness taps into that of rage, suspicion, anxiety, being that this is a force so powerful enough to be able to convince people that certain things are going on, even though darkness is manipulating the entire situation in hand. It always seems like Brain is most certainly one step ahead of the curve. Kind of makes you think that darkness was wanting to tear this group apart, though of course in the end it ends up revealing itself towards the end of this cutscene. Very similar vibes to the whole traitor thing that was going on in amongst the foreteller group. Similar themes for sure, with at least one of the members right here losing his absolute mind. For good reason too, though. I mean, this is a family member that he has lost. He's just overheard some pretty wild information. You kind of can't blame him for wiling out here. While Lauriam has Brain in the palms of his hands, Ephemer then steps in to stop Lauriam from potentially killing this man. Lauriam's having none of this, and absolutely fucking dragon backhands Ephemer like a decent 2-3 meters. Now, keeping in mind, dude, this is a man that has just gotten the shite beaten out of him by a dark witch. Yeah, he got his ass slapped multiple times in multiple directions. The cheeks are purple at this point. He literally had to stumble up flights and flights of stairs to get back up to the fucking foreteller meeting room. Completely exhausted, but this man still has energy to expel. It just goes to show the deep relationship he had there with his sister. And then suddenly Ventus busts on in and just completely spills the beans. It's It's a little bit wacky that just out of nowhere Ventus steps in and mentions that yes, I was the one that killed your sister. But I guess you gotta keep in mind all of the experiences and memories that this darkness that has been latching onto Ventus has put Ventus through has come flooding back to him. We saw in the previous story update that Ventus has been having nightmares of these exact experiences and memories, and so clearly this is a guilt that Ventus has been dealing with. Being the fact that obviously it's not actually Ventus that has been doing this stuff, namely killing Strelaisa, Ventus is quite clearly in a position where he can't help but feel he is guilty in some shape or form. I was also thinking there for a while that perhaps maybe it was the darkness that was making Ventus speak these words, I killed your sister. But we do know that when the host is acting out when they are being possessed by the darkness, their eyes go into this weird sort of zombie stagnant look. No pupils, no nothing, and none of that's actually happening here in this scene. I think this is just simply Ventus dealing with a shitload of guilt that has been piling up ever since the flood of memories coming back to him. Lauriam then spins out of control like a drunken crash bandicoot. Brain then latches onto Lauriam to stop him left, right, good-nighting Ventus. That doesn't work for no more than 3 seconds, with Lauriam having none of that, shoving Brain back, summoning forth his Keyblade. Suddenly, Ephemer then steps into the fold. In milliseconds before what could have been a decapitated Ventus, Ephemer then quickly summons his Keyblade to deflect Lauriam's strike of the Keyblade. My god. Seriously, man, I hope that once Kingdom Hearts Union Cross has been wrapped up, now that we are in the final stages, that Square do have a proper formulated 3D game that will retell the entire story so that the story is a lot easier to access. Mainly because I definitely want a console experience of the story to do with the whole Key Saga, namely that of Union Cross, but to specifically see this scene in 3D, in a proper Kingdom Hearts console format, would just be absolutely top notch. To see the emotion of this scene being properly displayed from both Lauriam as well as Ventus and the panic of the other characters surrounding them. Holy smokes, this would probably be within the top 10 Kingdom Hearts moments from throughout the series, if of course executed correctly. Ventus then starts struggling, speaking out the words, "It's not me," and then the darkness makes an appearance. Now, this is when it definitely does get interesting. For one, obviously the entire group are now 100% fully aware of the fact that Ventus has in fact been possessed for most of this time. Any of the acting out situations, we can obviously blame darkness for. But the darkness speaks these words before the story update ending, and that is, "You're finally aware of us that is." The key word to take away from here is most certainly of us, which could mean a couple of things. For one, multiple different darknesses. The darkness that has been hanging out with Maleficent could very well likely be a different darkness to the darkness that has been latching on to that of Ventus. Or on the other side of the coin, it could be possible that all darknesses share one entity as a hive mind of sorts. It's very apparent that the darkness wanted to make the other Dandelion leaders aware of itself, as if it was some kind of high time to finally do so. Maybe in a sense it's finally up to a point in its plan where things are drastically starting to move forward, but there is a clear reason as to why it finally decided to step into the limelight. Also, what is going to happen with Ventus from here on in, considering that the Dandelion leaders are right in front of the darkness's face? Of course, the leaders are probably going to try their utmost to ensure that the darkness doesn't continue to possess Ventus and furthermore take him. How is it exactly going to escape this situation with Ventus at this point, considering that he is now unconscious? Though, of course, we definitely do know that the darkness can summon forth the corridor's of darkness, a lot of darkness in this video, please do excuse me, but an instant escape is definitely something that this entity is capable of. What I do find interesting though about this, and I don't know really what this could mean, maybe the fact that Brain is probably more educated on darkness and a lot of different other corners and aspects of everything, more so than the other leaders, but you'll notice that Skald, Lauriam, and Ephemer are all standing there, Keyblades at the ready, to defend themselves if in case anything happens, whereas Brain couldn't give a shite, man. Like, he's standing there, arms crossed, with a very pissed off, smug look on his face. Perhaps maybe knowing that because of the fact that this darkness right here doesn't actually have a physical form of the sorts, it can't actually be damaged. So from Brain's standpoint, he may be thinking, well, there's really no need to have your Keyblade out because there's not much we can do at this stage. I don't know, it's just a neat little detail that I kind of noticed. There's surely got to be a reason for that. The three of them have their Keyblades out. He doesn't. Interesting though, because yeah, we haven't seen Brain's Keyblade yet, and this really could have been the prime time for him to whip it out, but I'm hoping this might potentially allude to the fact that we're getting close to that reveal. Surely, we're in the final chapter, he's got to whip it out at some stage soon, and very peculiar to know that they've decided to keep Brain's Keyblade as sort of the last reveal. Not that it's overly really anything too important, I don't also want to speak too soon, but in the sense of what Keyblade these characters wield, just to sort of recap, we of course know that Ephemer, Skald, they use Starlight, we've got Lauriam who uses the Divine Rose, very appropriate for the theme of Lauriam and Marluxia. Ventus is using the Missing Ache. So yeah, I'm just really curious to know what type of Keyblade Brain uses. I will not, if it is the Master's Defender. I will not. One thing that I do want to quickly mention is recently I've been reading up on the Kingdom Hearts character files. It's a book that ended up releasing at the start of this year that gives us little almost diary entries of each of the different Kingdom Hearts characters. The main ones at least anyway. In a sense, sort of describing themselves, talking from the perspective of themselves, giving us a little bit more context towards each of the characters. A lot of the stuff's very cryptic and vague as most Kingdom Hearts stuff goes. But I was reading up on Vanitas' one. Obviously the big theory that sort of lingers around towards the darkness that has been latching onto Ventus within Union Cross is that this is Vanitas in his very early stages. There's one sentence that has been making me think just a little bit out of the Vanitas character file is one thing right at the end where it says, I came from emptiness and I will return to emptiness. Just thinking about the forms of darkness way back when during the Key era, they are figments of pretty much nothingness. Like, unless they are latched on to a physical form, they're pretty much nothing. They are essentially emptiness. However guys, that's basically all for today. I just wanted to talk about this, acknowledge it. What a wild story update. It's like most of the story updates, ends on a cliffhanger. This is probably going to be one of the worst cliffhangers though, because very interested to know exactly what's going to happen next. Ventus is knocked out on the ground. It seems like this darkness is about to make a massive speech of sorts. So I'm hoping next month we will get that next big step. Please, please, for the love of God, Square, keep up with this consistency. Please. Now guys, I'm Cynical. Be sure to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Till next time guys, I'll catch you later. Peace.